Mama took no accountability and Mama just wanted to lie about everything. I was so angry and I was so sad.
In the wild world of reality TV, few stories are as shocking, compelling, and ultimately as devastating as that of June Shannon. You know her as Mama June, the matriarch of a family that exploded onto our screens and captured the world's attention. They were unconventional, unapologetic, and for a hot minute, they were on top of the world. But the bright lights of fame often cast the darkest shadows. This is a story about the dizzying highs of celebrity and the terrifying lows of addiction. It's about $1 million empire built on a catchphrase, and how it all came crashing down. From a reality TV empire to being broke and homeless, this is the unbelievable story of how America's most famous TV mom, Mama June, lost everything. It starts as a tale of unlikely fame, but quickly descends into a nightmare of addiction, arrests, and a family completely torn apart. How does a fortune just vanish into thin air? And could the damage ever truly be undone? This is the tragic story of Mama June that left everyone speechless. To really get the tragedy of Mama June, you have to go back to the very beginning. Before all the chaos and crisis, there was a different kind of spectacle. Back in 2012, we were first introduced to a 7-year-old Alana Thompson on TLC's controversial show, Toddlers and Tiaras. The series dove into the world of child beauty pageants, but Alana wasn't like the other girls. She was a total firecracker, a pint-sized personality who swapped practiced poise for unfiltered, rambunctious energy. She called herself Honey Boo, Boo Child, and with her sassy catchphrases and confidence, she became an instant star. And right behind this breakout kid was her mom, June Shannon. Mama June was unlike any reality TV mom we'd ever seen. She was the self-proclaimed coupon queen from McIntyre, Georgia, running her house with a bizarre mix of extreme penny-pinching and loud, boisterous love. Her recipe for sketty, that's spaghetti drenched in butter and ketchup, became the stuff of legend. The family's life was messy, chaotic, and 1,000,000 miles away from the polished perfection of other reality TV families. And audiences were absolutely captivated. TLC knew they had lightning in a bottle and quickly gave the family their own spin-off. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo premiered in August 2012 and was a monster hit right out of the gate. It followed Mama June, her partner, Mike Sugar Bear Thompson, and her 4 daughters, Anna Chickadee, Jessica Chubbs, Lauren Pumpkin, and of course, Alana Honey Boo Boo. The show became a cultural phenomenon, shattering viewership records for the network and turning the rural Georgia family into household names. They were loved for being real. In a world of carefully staged television, the Shannon family felt authentic. They burped, they passed gas, they spoke their own unique language, and they seemed to genuinely love each other. At the center of it all was June, the fierce, protective mom who, despite her rough edges, seemed completely dedicated to her kids. She was the engine of the family, navigating their sudden fame while still trying to stretch a dollar. The family was reportedly making serious money from the show, and, for the first time, they were financially secure. They weren't just a family from small-town Georgia anymore. They were a brand, an empire in the making. But as their star rose, unseen pressures were building, and dark secrets from June's past were lurking, threatening to tear it all down. 4 seasons. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo was a ratings powerhouse for TLC. The family was at the absolute peak of their fame, a seemingly unstoppable force in reality TV. But in October 2014, the fairy tale came to a sudden and shocking end. The foundation of their quirky empire didn't just crack, it completely shattered. The bomb was dropped by TMZ. The outlet published photos that appeared to show Mama June back together with a man named Mark McDaniel. This wasn't just some old flame. McDaniel had been convicted and served 10 years in prison for molesting one of June's own relatives, her eldest daughter, Anna Chickadee Cardwell, when she was just 8 years old. The public backlash was swift and brutal. Viewers were horrified. The thought that June would get back with the man convicted of abusing her own child was just unthinkable. The network, TLC, was backed into a corner. While June denied they were back together romantically, the damage was done. Their entire brand, built around family and kids, was now tainted by an awful scandal. Within days, TLC made its move. The network canceled Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, effective immediately. They released a statement saying, "Supporting the health and welfare of these remarkable children is our only priority." An entire 5th season of the show, which had already been filmed, was put on a shelf, never to be seen. The family's main source of income, the very show that made them famous, vanished overnight. This was the first huge public implosion for Mama June, and it exposed a disturbing pattern of behavior that would define her later years. It raised serious questions about her judgment and where her priorities really were. The scandal created a deep rift in the family, especially between June and Anna, a wound that would fester for years. For a while, the family faded from the spotlight. The TV cameras disappeared, and the world moved on. But this wasn't the end of June Shannon's story. It was just a prelude. A few years later, she popped back up on a new network with a new show and a whole new story to tell. She was going for a comeback, a redemption arc that started with transforming her body. The new show was called Mama June, From Not to Hot, and it followed her dramatic weight loss journey after gastric sleeve surgery, dropping from 460 pounds to 160 America. Love's a comeback story, and for a moment it looked like June was writing a new, healthier chapter. The show was a hit, and she was back. But under the surface of this big transformation, the old cracks were getting wider, and a new, much more destructive force was about to enter her life, one that would threaten not just her career, but her fortune, her family, and her very life. The new show on WETV, Mama June From Not to Hot, was supposed to be her big redemption. It started by showing her incredible physical transformation, a journey that cost around $75,000 in surgeries and captured the public's attention all over again. June was back on TV, looking like a different person. But the changes weren't just skin deep. A new man had entered her life, and he brought a darkness with him that would swallow her whole. His name was Eugene Gino Doak. Their relationship quickly became the new focus of the show. At first, he seemed like a supportive partner, but as they got more serious, the red flags started popping up. The show's lighthearted feel began to change, slowly documenting not a comeback story, but a terrifying spiral into addiction. The truth is, June had a history with drugs long before she was famous, but with Gino, her drug use exploded to a terrifying new level. The couple fell into a devastating addiction to crack cocaine. This wasn't some private struggle. It was a full-blown crisis spiraling out of control, and it was about to become very public. The first major sign of how bad things had gotten was in March 2019. Police were called to a gas station in Alabama for a domestic dispute between June and Gino. When they got there, they found a chaotic scene. A search of their car and their persons turned up crack cocaine and a pipe. Both June and Gino were arrested. The charges were serious: felony possession of a controlled substance and drug paraphernalia. Gino also got hit with a domestic violence charge. The arrest was a massive shock. The image of the coupon queen and loving mom was replaced with a mugshot. This was the point of no return. Addiction had taken over, and it was destroying everything. June's life, once a reality show, was now a true crime story. The financial cost of their addiction was staggering. The fortune she'd built up over years on TV started bleeding out at an insane rate. In later interviews, June herself would make a series of shocking confessions about just how much they were spending. By her own account, in the final year of their addiction, they had burned threw an estimated $900,000 on drugs. She detailed spending $150,000 on cocaine in just 6 months. At their worst, she claimed their daily drug habit could cost as much as $20,500 a day. Think about that. Nearly $1 million. Gone. A fortune that could have set her family up, for generations, incinerated. She was caught in a vicious cycle. She'd wake up and head to a pawn shop, selling off anything she owned for cash. She overdrew bank accounts by tens of thousands of dollars. When the money from her savings and TV career ran out, she got desperate. She sold the family home in Georgia, the house filled with all her kids' memories, and quickly spent that money on drugs, too. She and Gino ended up homeless, living out of their car, jumping from hotel to hotel when they could afford it, always chasing that next high. The spiral was fast, and it was brutal. Every dollar she had earned, every bit of security she had built, was sacrificed for the addiction. She'd lost her career once before, but this was different. This time, she was. Losing her home, her fortune, her family, and herself. Her children could only watch in horror as the mother they knew disappeared, replaced by a stranger driven by a relentless hunger for drugs. The family was in crisis, and the worst was still to come. The addiction didn't just cost June her fortune, it cost her the trust and safety of her own kids. The fallout from her actions ripped through her family, leaving behind devastation, heartbreak, and a deep sense of betrayal. The situation was so bad that her reality show was rebranded to reflect the grim new reality. Mama June, Family Crisis. Her daughters were no longer just characters on a TV show. They were first-hand witnesses to their mother's self-destruction, and they were terrified. The most heartbreaking part of this whole saga was the impact on Alana, Honey Boo Boo. The little girl who made the family famous was now a teenager watching her mom vanish into a fog of addiction. In a tearful intervention staged by the family and broadcast for the world to see, Alana's pain was raw. She cried as she told her mother, "I would love to come home and stay with you, tell you about my day. But I can't do that because I'm scared." She was scared to be in her own home, scared of her own mom. The family house, once the chaotic but loving heart of their world, had become a mess of squalor and neglect. Her daughters described finding drug paraphernalia and the house in total disarray. The situation got so bad, so unsafe, that Alana had to move out. Stepping up to fill the void was her older sister, Lauren Pumpkin Eford. Still a young woman. Herself, with her own growing family, Pumpkin made the tough call to take her younger sister in. This wasn't just for a weekend. In August 2019, with the blessing of Alana's dad, Sugar Bear, Pumpkin was awarded temporary guardianship of Alana. This became permanent in April 2022, when a Georgia judge granted Lauren sole custody of Alana. The court documents painted a bleak picture of June's finances. They noted that her monthly income from TV was about $25,000, but it all depended on production. Her only certain income was a monthly disability check for just over $1,000. A stark reminder of how far she'd fallen. As part of the deal, Mama June, the woman who once ran a reality TV empire, was ordered to pay her own daughter, Pumpkin, $800 a month in child support until Alana turned 18. The emotional betrayal was even deeper than the financial ruin. Perhaps. One of the most painful things for Alana was finding out that June hadn't just blown her own fortune, but had also spent Alana's money. Money that Alana had earned as a child star, which was supposed to be protected in a bank account, was gone. June had spent it. While some of the money was eventually returned, it came without an apology, leaving a deep scar. For years, June was mostly absent from her daughters' lives. Communication was strained or just didn't happen. Pumpkin had to become a mother to her own sister, raising a teenager while dealing with the public fallout of her mom's addiction. She and her husband, Josh, provided the stability that June couldn't. The crisis had fractured the family in ways that seemed impossible to fix. June had chosen drugs and Gino over her own children, and in doing so, she had shattered their family. She had hit rock bottom, and she had dragged her family down with her. The story of Mama June is a stark reminder of how quickly things can fall apart. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please know that there is help available. We'll leave some resources in the description below. And if you're finding this story compelling, please consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that captivate the world. After losing it all, her money, her home, and custody of her child, June Shannon finally hit a point where she had to face her demons. The road back from the edge is never easy, and for June, it's been a winding, complicated journey of small steps forward and major setbacks. This new chapter became the focus of yet another rebranding of her show, this time called Mama June: Road to Redemption. The first most important step was getting clean. In early 2020, after hitting absolute rock bottom, June and Gino Doak finally checked into a rehab facility. It was a move born of pure desperation. June has said that when she went into treatment, she had only $1.75 to her name. The journey to sobriety was hell. She had to detox from a severe crack cocaine addiction and start the hard work of facing why she turned to drugs in the first place. Sobriety brought a new kind of clarity, and with it, the realization that her relationship with Gino was a huge part of the problem. In 2021, after Gino was sentenced to 16 months in prison for a drug case, the couple finally split for good. June said his ongoing drug use and abusive behavior were the reasons. Breaking away from him was a critical turning point that let her focus on her own recovery. With sobriety came the massive task of rebuilding the bridges she had torched with her daughters. It's been a slow and tense process. For years, her daughters had to live with the consequences of her choices. They were hurt, abandoned, and betrayed. Trust isn't something you can win back overnight. Her attempts to reconcile have been a central theme of her reality show. We've seen tearful apologies, tough conversations, and moments of real connection, but the scars are still there. In a surprise twist, June found love again, this time with a man who understood her struggles. In 2022, she married Justin Stroud, who was also in recovery from addiction. They first got married in a quiet courthouse ceremony and then had a bigger oceanfront wedding in February 2023, which all 4 of her daughters attended. This was huge. It was the first time the whole family had been together since 2014, before the very first scandal broke. Having her daughters at the wedding signaled a thaw in their icy relationship. It showed they were willing, cautiously, to let their mother back into their lives. The family dynamic is still very much a work in progress. Recent seasons have shown ongoing tension, especially around money and June's attempts to reinsert herself into their lives. It's clear that the path to a fully healed family is still a long one. June has made efforts to make things right, including taking steps to repay the money she took from Alana's account. But her relationship with her daughters remains complicated. Alana has said that while she's reconciled with her mom, she keeps her expectations low to protect herself from getting hurt again. A sad but completely understandable position for a child who has been through so much. June's redemption isn't a straight line. It's a messy, ongoing process of trying to fix the immense damage she caused one day at a time. And just when it seemed the family might be finding a new, fragile balance, they were hit by a tragedy that no one saw coming. Just as the Shannon family was starting to figure out their new normal, dealing with the long and messy process of forgiveness, they were dealt a devastating blow. In January 2023, June's eldest daughter, Anna Chickadee Cardwell, got a life-altering diagnosis. After suffering from stomach aches, doctors found she had stage IV adrenal carcinoma, a rare and aggressive cancer. It had already spread to her liver, kidney, and lung. The news was a profound shock to the family and to the public who had watched Anna grow up. At just 28 years old, the mother of 2 was facing a terminal illness. The diagnosis, in a tragic way, brought the fractured family back together. The years of conflict between June and Anna seemed to melt away in the face of this new, shared battle. June stepped back into a motherly role, supporting Anna through her grueling chemo treatments. The family, torn apart by addiction and scandal, was now united by grief and a desperate fight for more time. They documented their journey, sharing updates with the public and taking one last family trip to create memories that would last forever. Anna fought bravely for 10 months. She shared her own updates on social media, letting the world see her strength and vulnerability. But the disease was relentless. In December 2023, June took to social media to share the heartbreaking news that Anna's fight was coming to an end. A few days later, on December 9, 2023, Anna Cardwell passed away. She was 29 years old. June announced her daughter's death in a moving Instagram post, writing, "She gave one hell of a fight for 10 months. She passed away with her family around her like she won't, and we will be updating y'all with more information as we get it today." Anna's death cast a long shadow over the family, adding an almost unbearable layer of sadness to their already turbulent story. For June, the loss was double. She didn't just lose her firstborn child. She lost her right when they were just starting to fix their broken bond. It was a cruel twist of fate in a life already marked by so much tragedy, and it stands as the most tragic chapter yet in the long and sorrowful story of Mama June and her family. The story of June Shannon is a modern tragedy, played out for all to see under the harsh glare of reality TV cameras. Her story is a brutal cautionary tale about how seductive and destructive fame can be, and a harrowing look at how addiction can shatter a life, a fortune, and a family. We watched her rise from nowhere to become an unlikely pop culture icon, the matriarch of America's most famous unconventional family. We saw her build an empire that promised a new and better life, and then we watched her lose it all. The fall was fast and brutal, a chaotic spiral of drugs, arrests, and financial ruin that left a trail of wreckage behind her. The million-dollar fortune vanished, spent on a habit that nearly cost her her life. Her home was sold, her relationships were destroyed, and most tragically, she lost the trust of her children, forcing them to live through a public crisis that no kid should ever have to face. Her journey from rock bottom has been a slow, painful climb. She found sobriety, a new partner, and has been trying to mend the deep wounds she inflicted on her daughters. But the path to healing is never simple. The family is still navigating the aftermath of years of trauma, a process made even more painful by the heartbreaking loss of Anna. What's left is a story of immense loss,